Summoner, I have been running the numbers, monitoring the chaos, making sense of the senseless. The common denominator for danger has been the friends you insist on following. I understand it. It is difficult to navigate these horrors, and I am no stranger to making odd alliances during hard times. But we need calculated risks. We need focused plans, not loose cannons. That's you, Summoner. Your cannon is utterly untethered. Our foes have embraced the shadows, and I fear that their influence is growing like a virus without a cure. We are going to make some difficult choices, but I know that we're smart enough to make the right choices, so I'm trusting you with our latest intel. We are at a tipping point here, Summoner. We'll fight back, pick our moments, and save our friends, or we'll die trying. A stirring, motivational speech as always, Richards. Well, Victor, we did agree I should do the talking.
This is my phone. I always have it around. Not surprisingly, every facet of modern life involves a device like this one. At this point, this phone has my entire life tied to it, with loads of valuable information all neatly tucked in one place. So convenient, so vulnerable. But hey, I'm lucky. Top-tier threat actors couldn't care less about my device or its content. After all, they have a much bigger fish to catch. The device one could consider the most targeted in the world, the US president's phone. Very little is known about the president's phone. What kind is it? Can it be hacked? And most importantly, what kind of damage could be done if it does get breached? Securing a president's mobile phone is a relatively new challenge. While phones have been a part of White House communications for centuries, mobile phones, and specifically smartphones, have only entered the Oval Office in 2008 with President Barack Obama's first term. So when a phone specifically designed to be a bastion of cybersecurity for US government officials was released in 2014, it wasn't much of a surprise. The need was obvious. Manufactured specifically for government and military defense communications, Boeing Black was designed to be unbreakable. The collaborative effort between the aviation giant and BlackBerry turned out to be a hardware monster, tough, modifiable, and self-destructing if tampered with. The Boeing Black was released 10 years ago during President Barack Obama's second term to little fanfare. And since then, there's been little news about the device, with any subsequent updates, if any, never reaching public attention. After recent events, some might say Boeing is better at shutting down whistleblowers than hackers, but is that because Boeing Black is already fine-tuned to perfection? A cybersecurity bastion chock full of impenetrable features? If it seems like this is where the story ends, it's because Boeing Black looks like an immovable object. But threat actors don't have to search for an unstoppable force to crash against it, because it doesn't matter how secure Boeing Black is if there are other, less secure devices in the picture. Contrary to what media or your Aunt Susan says, presidents are just people like you and me. So just like us, when consumer smartphones became the next big thing, a lot of presidents also wanted to get their hands on one. And they did, either before or during their terms. Even though the Boeing Black was created during the actual Obama presidency, he refused to let go of his old-school BlackBerry. And that wasn't the only personal device President Barack Obama insisted on bringing into the Oval Office. His now famous Obama Pad set another precedent for all presidents moving forward. However, both the BlackBerry and the Obama Pad were heavily modified for security, even to the extent of completely cutting off the iPad's internet connection, leaving it only slightly more functional than a paper tablet.
So basically, it's like, does your 3-year-old have one of those play phones? Where it's like, you know, it's got
That's like what they gave the president.
It's got like the stickers on it.
Yeah,
so you're all like.
And while Obama may have paved the way for presidents to hang on to their favorite personal devices, the trend only escalated from there. From 2017 to 2021, President Donald Trump deemed the cybersecurity norms of the office too restrictive, which thankfully isn't his attitude towards physical security. Still, during his term, he did end up ignoring the established cybersecurity norms as far as phones are concerned by using multiple personal iPhones with questionable security standards. And then he'd sometimes spend up to 5 months without security checkups. In 2020, Donald Trump reportedly suffered a breach of his Twitter account at the hand of a Dutchman, who somehow allegedly guessed the hilariously obvious password to the president's account.
Nobody gets hacked.
Both Twitter and the White House deny this ever happened, but the team behind the hack claimed responsibility, confirming they found the password through the LinkedIn leak. This makes the attempts from Twitter and Secret Service to downplay the issue appear to be a simple attempt to save face. Trump's successor, President Joe Biden, reportedly follows security guidelines a bit more, though he still can't resist bringing his own personal devices into the office either. President Biden's preferred devices are surprisingly modern, especially considering Biden is about 30 years older than the concept of the mobile phone itself. The 46th President of the United States uses an Apple Watch and owns a Peloton exercise bike, which were both specifically modified to provide the necessary level of security. The Apple Watch also implies that Biden likely has his own iPhone, which seems to be confirmed by the multiple pictures of him using one. And Biden's biographer, Evan Osnos, confirms that the president uses the Apple News app, which pretty much requires an Apple account. That creates a loophole. Apple software and Apple devices have been hacked before, particularly while exploiting a zero-day vulnerability. If you're not quite sure what that is, we have a detailed explainer covering this topic. So knowing that presidents use personal devices, is there any precedent for them being hacked? Well, not US presidents so far, but a few high-ranking European politicians have had their phones breached. In 2021, French President Emmanuel Macron was targeted by the Pegasus spyware to the point where he was forced to change his phone. The Pegasus spyware managed to sneak onto the Spanish Prime Minister's phone as well, leading to a long investigation for both French and Spanish officials. Pegasus is not your run-of-the-mill spyware either. This advanced piece of spyware was developed by the Israeli spyware company NSO Group. It has existed since as early as 2011, and NSO Group has been selling it around the world, including the countries with oppressive regimes, attracting major criticism, but all for naught. Pegasus has been used to target companies, government officials, and yes, even world leaders, designed to infiltrate and spy on any user of an Android or even an iOS-based device. In 2020, before European leaders were hit by Pegasus, another high-profile case made waves in the US cyberspace. Jeff Bezos, the multi-billionaire entrepreneur behind Amazon, fell victim to a spyware attack. Bezos had his personal data extracted from his phone, including sensitive messages used to fuel an expose on his private life and long history of adultery. You probably heard the story. After a short investigation, Bezos named the prime suspect, his soon-to-be business partner in the Middle East, Saudi Arabian Prince Mohammed bin Salman, often referred to as MBS. While there wasn't much evidence that MBS was behind the attack, for our conversation, we don't really need to know who did it. How it was done is way more important. Because once more, it was Pegasus, the same spyware that would go on to haunt European officials a few years later. Following the Bezos case, the NSA realized that spyware was a threat to presidential security, leading to an inquiry into Trump's cybersecurity. Question is, why do they have to inquire into it? Why does the White House, time and time again, allow the public face of the government to carry around a personal smartphone if the danger of getting hit by spyware is real? Sure, both Trump and Biden have avoided Pegasus in the past few years, but time is not standing still. There's a new threat every day, a new way to extract data, a new vulnerability to crack the wall of cybersecurity measures around the presidential phone. Let's play out a hypothetical situation. A talented and slightly suicidal threat actor manages to bypass all security measures and modifications, getting access to the president's personal device. Calls, contacts, secret info from the phone, everything is leaked. Okay, so what now? Well, no international damage could be done, to be sure. The Secret Service would never allow any calls with world leaders to go through on non-specialized communication lines, especially knowing that spyware like Pegasus exists. Currently, each call the US president makes to another leader is carefully planned out, with both parties briefed on the subject and multiple translators and interpreters working diligently to ensure proper communication. Personal presidential phones have no place in that scheme. However, personal damage is likely, if not certain. Direct access to the president's phone would reveal his location, provide opportunity to listen in on calls, record footage of his surroundings, and extract sensitive messages or files, just like Pegasus did. That said, the threat actor would probably find this loophole closed quickly, since it would likely be impossible to extract that data from the president's phone without the Secret Service noticing a suspicious data stream. But the chance of a single hacker, or even a collective, breaching the president's phone is minimal. Now, if it's a governmental hacker agency working on it, the success rate goes up exponentially. In this case, the hackers might quietly get into the president's phone and do nothing. The backdoor might never even get utilized, remaining under their control as they wait until the decisive moment. It seems obvious that the Secret Service should recognize the dangers of allowing personal devices into the White House. Then why would they permit it? Why not enforce the usage of Boeing Black, or even get rid of smartphones altogether? At the end of the day, there are still a lot of questions surrounding presidential phones. A lot of them will likely never be answered. But what we know for sure is that the Secret Service does a good job maintaining protection and secrecy around the presidential mobile phone, at least for now. Still, the danger of allowing personal devices inside the Oval Office remains, and as mobile devices get more and more complicated, more and more cracks will form in their security, until someone finally takes advantage of them. We hope you enjoyed this dance of facts, suggestions, and predictions. This topic is shrouded in the mist of secrecy, and diving into it was our pleasure.